What defines a classic car? Why have these elegant automobiles kept every ounce of their original beauty and appeal?
In the 30s, when coach building as an art form was at its height, everything was curved. There was compound curves, and they were really lovely. And I think that's something that's sadly missing in new designs today. But at any rate, it's wonderful to look at, but it's terrible to shoot because it's just God and the world is reflected in this curved surface. It's like looking at yourself in a baby moon hubcap. You see everything. It's like a fisheye lens. So you have to be very tricky. You gotta outsmart the car, and that involves placing a lot of flats, white and black flats, to control your light and your reflections at just the right place, and primarily knowing the right kind of location to go for. Flat, open space with a good view of the horizon. This is a particularly tricky car to shoot because not only is it curved, but it has almost slab sides. It gets very flat. In other words, it's not like modern cars today with their belt lines that angle, so you don't have so much of a plane to worry about reflections coming in and back. If you walk over here, you can see that there's just one spot on the whole side of this car that's possible to hide ourselves in. So from here, what we're going to have to do is put the foam core in to not see any of the seams, yet give us the cutaway lines that we need. Mainly, we're going to have to be concerned about that rear window, what we're seeing through there, and the louvers. The louvers all raise up, going down the length of the hood, and if we don't put a flat in there, we'll never see them to make the cut. So let's just set stands along the back, and then I'll help you call where the seams have got to be.
Okay, great.
Okay. Recently, my work has evolved into the point where I'm now shooting what is known in motion picture work as matte photography. I do a lot of shooting knowing that the background is going to disappear, and I don't care about the background. I can be in a parking lot, and a lot of times I am in a parking lot. People think I'm crazy. They leave this woman out here with this $800,000 automobile in a parking lot with a bunch of boards around, and it really looks bizarre.
There's one Cindy Lewis classic car photograph that seemed to defy all logic. It was almost as if the car did not want to have its picture taken.
The 1933 Wayman-bodied Duesenberg. What a story that is. It was November a few years ago, and I went up to shoot the car. I shot it previously, and I couldn't get it out of my mind. It's such an incredible car. It's a boat-tail speedster. It's black and white, and I kept thinking, gee, it would be great to do this thing on black and white tile. Well, there's no way to do that within the confines of Harrah's Auto Museum, so we were forced into working in the parking lot. We literally laid 550 tiles around the automobile in the parking lot, and there are hundreds of pennies under the corners of these different tiles, holding them all up so that they appear to be absolutely level. Well, the interesting thing about doing this was that we got up there and we started to lay the tiles in the parking lot, and we got snowed out. So we came back the second day. We got about a third of the way up the car, and all of a sudden I noticed that the tiles are starting to veer off to the left. It appears to be perfectly straight, but the tiles are veering off to the left, sure enough. Well, I'm sitting there scratching my head about it, can't quite figure out what to do. It's real cold, the days are short, what do you do? Well, we couldn't finish it. We just couldn't get it quite right that day. Strike everything, come back the third day. We're out there early in the morning. One of my dear friends, a restorer at Harrah's, came out, and he's been around a long time, and he knows all about these cars, and he says, looks like you got you a problem there. And I said, that's right, we sure do. He said, well, the car's not square. Bingo, it clicked. He was absolutely right. The car was not square. It's hand-built. It's the only car ever built like that. And how did you build a perfectly symmetrical car in 1933? Apparently they did it by using a technique called lofting, where they would visualize a point in space, and they would say, okay, that's where the front of the fenders are going to end. Well, when you do that, you don't have a square piece. Well, here I was trying to lay a grid which is going to show every flaw in the design of the car around the car as a sort of an art piece. What we finally ended up doing was using surveying techniques to establish the endpoints and then cheating the tiles within the context of the 4x5 ground glass to arrive at what looks to be a studio shot but is actually shot in a parking lot. It's probably going to be somewhere in here. The thing we don't want to happen is we don't want the foam core to end in the middle of the windshield because we'll see the seam. A lot of what I do is placing boards in particular locations to, for instance, to make all the chrome read as a perfect highlight. We got to trample some weeds. We're gonna, you know, you've heard the expression, beat the weeds.
Oh yeah, sure. Well,
I'll show you where they are. It's that one bush there. Richard says it's bendable on the cliff.
Big one?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
I want to see if we can knock that down a ways. Okay? That's it. Probably the most important thing that you can remember is to shoot the car once the sun is set. In other words, don't shoot the car in the middle of the day. You'll only be creating hot spots and problems for yourself. But if you shoot the car once the sun is set, you get beautiful, soft light, and it's very kind to the metal. Magic hour. It's when all the goblins come out and they come in, they light your car, and it's just perfect. If you've been a good girl. You know, it's a really complicated game you play with the light outdoors on location because it's a lot like playing pool. It's all in the angles. You know, it's how you line up those balls for what kind of feedback you want. And that's what I do is I get out there and I'll decide what I think's the best angle on the car is, and then I'll search for a location that will allow me to line the car up with the proper compass direction so that I get the right angle of bounce light that I want to give me the magic.